Well, the Prime Minister's hit back against Donald Trump after the US President's latest attack on the UK's lack of support, he says, for the war against Iran.
Decisions about what's in Britain's best interests are decisions for the Prime Minister of Britain.
Yeah. And Sir Keir Starmer also tried to reassure people that the cost of living is at the forefront of his mind as Britain faces a potential energy crisis brought on by that war.
Well, the conflict in the Middle East has caused a record-breaking spike in the price of oil, which is now soared above $100 a barrel for the first time in years.
And at any moment now, we're expecting the French President Emmanuel Macron to land in Cyprus, pushing France to the front of Europe's military response to the conflict. And GBNews' Home and Security Editor Mark White joins us now. Extraordinary. Macron going to Cyprus, where the British have a defence base.
Humiliation.
As you see, this is the French President touching down in Cyprus to meet the Cypriot President and also the Greek Prime Minister, to show solidarity and support for Cyprus, for this, for the fact that Cyprus has come under attack. The base at RAF Akrotiri struck last week by a drone, we believe, fired by Hezbollah. And of course, France, unlike the UK, has sent naval assets to Cyprus now, a carrier strike group, the Charles de Gaulle, headed to that area as well. We still have not been able to get HMS Dragon, our Type 45 air defence destroyer. No fault of the Navy, by the way. They're desperately trying to catch up to the politicians' final orders to get out there and get that vessel.
They didn't deliver the order till Tuesday.
Of course.
Tuesday morning of last week.
And it was preparing for a deployment to the High North, completely different kind of deployment. You know, lots of provisions and stores had to be taken out, new provisions and stores put on for a different kind of region that is going to...
We've just got Macron now. If you're listening on the radio, we've got Macron has just landed on being feted by Cypriot dignitaries. That'll be the President, the Prime Minister, and he is going to, Mark White, he is going to lord this over us in such a way.
You've got to say, I mean, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how these images are going to play. He says, of course, and I'm sure that's a big part of why he's there, to lend support to Cyprus at this very difficult time for the island nation. But in terms of just the optics of this, for the British government, for Sir Keir Starmer, are absolutely terrible. Now, the British government, I'm sure, will tell us that way before Emmanuel Macron, we sent our Defence Secretary. I'm sorry, but John Healey, you know, as welcome as I'm sure his visit was, it was to tell us what, really, to show a bit of solidarity and support. But in terms of immediate assets, yes, they said, of course, we sent 400 personnel to help bolster the defences there. But whatever we were doing did not stop a drone coming in and impacting RAF Akrotiri. And if that was enough, why are we now scrambling to get HMS Dragon out to the region and potentially our own aircraft carrier after the fact? So the optics of this, there's no doubt, are terrible, whether John Healey was there or not. Our Prime Minister, Air Miles Starmer, as he's called.
Exactly. Never hear Keir.
Never hear Keir.
Never hear Keir.
You know, always likes a foreign joint. But when it comes to heading off to Cyprus, perhaps not.
But you see, his previous Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, who's gone, was one of those who was seen as being behind this campaign because he thought the more Starmer was seen on the world stage, the better he looked. He was doing quite well on the world stage for a while. He appeared to have a good relationship with Trump for a while. He's no longer there.
Well, we've well rehearsed the arguments there about just how damaged, for the time being, and I'm sure it will recover, the special relationship is. There's no doubt the Americans, they are incandescent, as we have seen in multiple posts on Truth Social from Donald Trump, and even on camera, you know, talking about Sir Keir Starmer being no Winston Churchill. We know there is clearly an almighty fallout at the moment.
And
it has to be hoped that over the sort of medium to longer term, that relationship will be back on track. We know, of course, that Keir Starmer said, well, the special relationship, it's working. We see it every day. The fact the US are using our air bases, yes, they are, but you're tying one hand behind their back and telling them they can only use them for limited purposes.
Every time your phone connects to public Wi-Fi, anyone nearby could snoop on what you're doing. Hackers can steal your information, passwords, photos, and bank details in just seconds. ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. ExpressVPN is so easy to use. With just one click of a button, you're protected. Streaming, banking, or shopping, you can switch between high-speed servers worldwide in seconds, and your connection never slows down. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free, all backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Protect your online life today.
So fascinating about the French is that, unlike us, they have deliberately kept their defensive capabilities separate from the US. They cooperate, of course, but they're not reliant. And after the Suez Crisis in 1956, we made the decision to always do what America told us from that future.
Yeah.
But the French reaction was very different. They deliberately set out to be independent, to make sure that even their nuclear deterrent didn't rely on the US. They're laughing now.
Although that posture is changing now, and France is actively considering putting the nuclear umbrella around European countries as well. But yes, you're right. Listen, I say it again, the Charles de Gaulle strike group is there. They look as though they've been, you know, much more fleet of foot than we have been. As I say, it goes just to show how absolutely wretched our defences are after years and years of hollowing out the defence. You know, as successive governments did this, it was expedient, politically expedient, to just, you know, have the veil of still, you know, being absolutely invested in the defence of the realm, while all of the time taking away another frigate there, reducing our 12 Type 45 destroyers to 6 Type 45 destroyers. Even the new fleet is not being spared from this. Of Type 26, these incredible assets, we were supposed to get 13 to replace the ageing Type 23 frigates, of which we only have now 7 in operation, most of them in refit. But that order has been pared back, so it's 8 Type 26, and then in addition, 5 Type 31s, which are not as potent by any means. They're a cheaper frigate, and they won't be anywhere near as well armed, and they won't be submarine hunting frigates, which is their core task.
I suspect Starmer thinks he can't go until our ship is there.
Maybe
because he would
true.
just that's all he'll be asked.
Yeah.
Where is it?
That's true.
Yeah.
Still in dry dock, Prime Minister.
Well,
Pathetic.
Mark
Pathetic.
White, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I think, Andrew, there's been so many just unbelievable pictures coming out of the war, all the munitions drop, that we've perhaps forgotten the significance. Cyprus is in the EU. An EU country has been hit.
It has, yeah.
And not much
which has a British military sovereign base on it, which was hit too.
That war is 4,000 miles away over in the Middle East, but here in the UK, motorists already today telling me they're feeling the cost of that war as they're filling up their cars. One person told me he's coming today after seeing those pictures from the Middle East over the weekends, because he's worried prices are going to continue to rise over the coming weeks. He doesn't need to drive up north until the weekend, but wanted to fill his car up today while prices are not going any higher than they are at the moment. Another lady told me if prices go any higher, she would have to leave her car parked on her driveway and be forced to take public transport because she couldn't afford to fill her car up with petrol anymore. If you take a look at the prices behind me, here the prices for a litre of unleaded 146.9. The cost of a litre of diesel, 161.9. Now that's gone up considerably since the start of this war in Iran, when the average price of petrol here in the UK was 132.8p per litre. So a large rise, but still a long way off from their record of 191.5p per litre back in 2022, and diesel was 199p per litre. Now that was, of course, after Russia invaded Ukraine, and that pushed up the price of oil. But we have seen today the cost of oil rise above $100 per barrel, and that's the highest it's been since 2022, when petrol was at its record-breaking price here in the UK. Now the RAC saying it takes about 2 weeks for the wholesale cost of oil to filter through to the forecourts here at petrol stations, and earlier on today the government told us they're monitoring the situation on an hourly basis.
Okay.
No contracts for drilling oil from the North Sea have been cancelled, so we're still drilling oil from the North Sea. Even if we were to drill more, it would have zero impact on the price of oil in this country, because the price is set globally. So we could increase capacity. It would not help one iota with the cost of living.
Steve Reed talking to us on GB News a little bit earlier on. And now, why has the price of oil gone up? Well, it's all down to that war in Iran, of course, launched by the US and Israel, targeting key oil infrastructure in the region, causing big knock-on impacts on the creation of new oil into the global supplies, but also getting oil out of the region. With the Strait of Hormuz, many tankers unable or unwilling to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, causing key impacts on the price of oil. Well, Rachel Reeves this afternoon is going to be on a call with other G7 leaders to discuss what they can do about the rising cost of oil, and what they can do for people in the UK who will be feeling the pinch. Of course, back in 2022, when the price of oil was at very, very high levels and causing petrol prices to be at record-breaking levels, of course, the government introduced the energy price cap. Well, no word from the government whether anything similar would be introduced at the moment, and prices here at the forecourt are not yet at those record-breaking levels. Steve Reed saying there's no cause for concern. And Donald Trump, of course, we've been hearing short-term oil prices are a very small price to pay for America and world safety and peace.
Will Godley, thank you so much. That's GB News national reporter Will Godley, and of course